Can we get started already?
Well, we gotta make sure that the shit works.
Tyler Herro's a better all-around shooter than he is.
All around, yeah, but 3-point, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You're on crack.
Nope.
Worthy.
Is Cooper Cup a Hall of Famer?
No!
No!
Yeah!
Okay. Cooper Cup is the same as Kawhi Leonard.
No, he's not!
Started.
Tyreek Hill's family. Tyreek Hill was never the best receiver in the league. He was top 3. Ray Lewis was the best player in the league.
It is a criminal act of what he did to that organization.
Average quarterback, I have him at 15.
I have him at 24.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy. Listen, Dak Prescott is not. Just because he's overpaid doesn't mean he's bad.
Tell me what big game he's won.
That doesn't matter.
Yes,
You
it
don't-
does.
No, it doesn't.
Welcome back to the Through the Lane podcast. It's just me today. Luke is at work and Talon is, I think, out of town. So it'll just be me today. It'll be a shorter episode. We're not going to talk about much. But breaking news just happened as I was setting this up. Taylor Jenkins got fired from the Grizzlies. They're now the 5th seed in the West, 44-29. I think it just doesn't. It's not going good for them. And yeah, what is the record? He's been there for 6 years. They've been talking to fire him since about. They've been talking about firing him since last year. It just hasn't gone good. I don't think the team's done that well. They've constantly changed the lineup. They can't figure out what to do with Santi Aldama, who I think should play more. Honestly, Jaren Jackson should be the 5, Aldama be the 4, and then do what you got to do at the 3. The bench is always in flux. And I also believe he doesn't have full control over the locker room. I believe that, part of the John Morant stuff is on him with everything that happened. He just could not control the locker room. It's disappointing. But at the same time, for a team that has title hopes to be making this move this late in the year is huge to me. Again, this just came out 12 minutes ago. So we'll find out more on what was the cause of this. As the day goes on, probably by next episode, we'll know what has happened in town, and we will talk about it. But yeah, I didn't see that coming. There was no rumors of that. I know last year they talked about firing him at the end of the season, but they didn't. It was him and Jimmy Bickerstaff who were the 2 guys that were talking about getting fired. On good teams, just they weren't performing and it just having issues. But he kept his job. He kept his job, and it just was surprising to me that they fired him now. If you were to fire him in the middle of the season, we've got about 2-3 weeks left, and you now can him. It just makes no sense. But next up, the NCAA tournament Sweet 16 started last night, and so the end of that last episode, and there's a clip of it on the YouTube and Instagram. Derek King hits that game winner against Colorado State. Peak college basketball, wonderful way to end the game. Then yesterday, Alabama blows out BYU. Duke has it's a good game for the first half. And then Duke, what they did, they went on a stretch of about 5 minutes where they just dominated. Cooper Flagg took over. Con Knuppel was knocking down threes. And Malioc was a menace in the paint. Right? The facilitator was Cooper Flagg. The sniper was Con Knuppel. And the defender was Malioc. And it's a lethal trio. And then, by the way, Tyrese Proctor, who can go unconscious like we saw against Baylor, is also on that team. All Arizona had was Caleb Love. And I love Caleb Love. Dude's a dog. Brother can play. But I just think, you look at this Duke team, I mean, if you took away Cooper Flagg, they were passing out to Con Knuppel. And then as the game wore on, Malioc's now getting involved. And you're seeing Malioc take over the game and make some big plays offensively. Now, the issue is with Duke, when Malioc's off the court, it's not good. I mean, Caleb Love was attacking the paint. With like 8 minutes left, they took Molly off the court. And I don't know why they took him off the court, but they did. And Caleb Love started attacking the paint. Caleb Love had like 30-plus points. Let me see if I can pull up yesterday's stats. Florida beat Maryland at 87-71, by the way. We'll talk about the Texas Tech Arkansas game in just a second. But Duke, I mean, and to credit to Arizona, they brought that game back. I mean, it was not. Duke had a 19-point lead. They brought it back to like 5, but they ended up losing by 7. Caleb Love had 35 points. The next highest was Bradley at 15. Then you had Visar at 13. Outside of that, no one really did anything. But if you look at at Duke, Cooper Flack had 30, Con Canoopel had 20, Stylon James had 16, Caleb Foster didn't even score, Proctor had 7, Malioc had 13, 6, and I think a few blocks. He had 4 blocks. Cooper Flack had 3, and a steal. I mean, Cooper Flack just did. They pretty much matched. Cooper Flack did more, and 7 assists for Cooper Flack, which is huge. I think Cooper Flack did more. He was able to affect the game more fastest than Caleb Love did, and I think that really changed the game. And I love Cooper Flack. I love Duke. I think this team is probably unbeatable in this tournament. I think Florida has a chance, but that's about it. I don't think Tennessee has the size or the physicality to hold up. I think if it becomes a shootout, I think Tennessee can play with them. But if it gets a physical game like it was last night at times, it's not going to go Tennessee's way. And Arizona played a heck of a game. I mean, again, they were down 20 points, and they brought it back to 7. It was a good game. Now, last night, Arkansas's up by, I think 15 at one point. They end the first half up 38-31. Then Texas Tech goes on a 16-3 run to force overtime, and Texas Tech just takes it over. Arkansas played great March Madness. Their bench really gave them nothing at all. I mean, Boogie Flan played 9 minutes and did nothing. They probably should have relied on Boogie Flan more. Davis did well. Knox did well. DJ Wagner's been kind of disappointing this year, as he's supposed to be this next guy that was supposed to be a dog. He's improved, but he looks like a 5-star that's ended up going to college for 4 or 5 years just because he just hasn't topped out. Here's the thing looking at Texas Tech. They spread it out well. And they only played 7 guys. Overton had 12. Anderson had 22. Williams had 20. JT Toppin had 20. And JT Toppin, made some big baskets in that last little bit. And it just felt like the offensive Texas Tech had more offensive firepower than Arkansas, and easily. I don't think Arkansas could have matched it. I don't think Arkansas's defense was enough. I think Arkansas probably got tired as the game went on, or as this tournament's going on. But today is Ole Miss Michigan at 6:09. 6:39 is Kentucky Tennessee. I think Tennessee blows out Kentucky. A really interesting game is Michigan Auburn at 8:39, and then Purdue Houston at 9. It's going to be a good day. I'm going to be interested to see who plays. Duke now plays Alabama, and that's huge. I can't wait to watch that game Saturday. So I'll be at work, sadly, but I'll be keeping up with that game. And then Texas Tech, Florida. I think Florida will win that. But, yeah. Next up, transfer portal. I've talked about this for college football, but I think it's even worse in college basketball. The portal opened Monday, and I saw it was yesterday or the day before. Reports were over 1,100 players that entered. Scottie Pippen's son, who's at Michigan, who advanced, or who's playing today, transferred, and is in the portal. It's an issue. Players are leaving mid-tournament. Players who, if injuries happen, are going to be called upon. It's wiping out your depth mid-tournament. Calipari said it. He goes, I'm trying to focus on the tournament, but I'm also having to ask guys mid-tournament, hey, are you going to return? Are you going to be back next year? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This transfer portal crap, I get the importance of it. I talked about it in a past episode. That, you know what? It has its place, right? But holy cow, something's got to change. Something's got to change. There's no way this is sustainable in college basketball. It took out the mid-majors. It's taking out mid-majors in Cinderella runs, which women's basketball didn't already have, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And I can live with not having a Cinderella run every year. Man, I can't talk. I think this year's different because you have powerhouses at these big schools where they finally were able to recruit, and those recruits pan out. I think we've seen the past few years these top recruits not pan out, like a Caleb Love or Armando Bacot. They were good, but they weren't Cooper Flag elite. And so I think you're seeing, like Con Canoopel, Marcus Sears, Cooper Flagg, Caleb Love finally. You're seeing these guys start to pop up and be these dudes. Because the past year's NBA draft, it's been an influx of, European talent. Because the in-house talent has not been that good, this year it has been, and I think it took out the mid-majors. I think when these teams can recruit well and bring in transfers well, it takes out mid-majors. Because we saw with Drake. Drake brought in a lot of D2 guys, and the coach was there for a year, and now he's going somewhere else, and all those guys are now leaving Drake and going. And it's just these stops. There's got to be a fix. There has to be a change. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the portal, because I thought about it, I was like, well, when would be a good time to open the portal? Men's baseball ends like midsummer, right? Unless there's a portal specific time for every sport, which I think there is now that I think about it. But unless you do basketball as soon as the season's over with, right? Baseball as soon as the season's over with, and football as soon as the season's over with, like postseason, not regular season, postseason. Then you've got to fix. But this where there's two portals and it's middle of the season, games are still happening, guys are declared. I don't think you should be allowed to declare while the season's going on that you're entering the portal. I don't think you should be. Especially for basketball, when you have a select few number of guys that can be on a roster, how big of an impact that is that you step out. Over 1,100 players. Over 1,100. It's ridiculous. And NIL's ruining it, but I think just more of the transfer portal. You can knock out this issue if you fix the transfer portal. Yes, a lot of players going to enter. Yes. But is it going to be mid-season? I mean, this happened before the Sweet 16 started. That you had 1,100 guys enter the portal. And I just think it's ridiculous. I think something's got to change. This is not sustainable for college sports. It's becoming too much like pro sports. Derek King, the head coach of Maryland, is looking to go to Villanova. He asked Derek King, are you planning on going back? I don't know, I got to talk to my agent. Why are there agents involved in college sports this early on? It's ridiculous. It's insane. The reason why Cooper Flagg's talking about it is because he's so young. He can play 2 years and then enter the draft, and he'd still be like everyone else that's a freshman. He'd be the same age. And he doesn't want to go to the Hornets and the Wizards. But the opportunity's there. Right? Now, switching to college basketball, or women's basketball, Juju Watkins tore ACL. I saw that video, and the way she fell, you can kind of tell Achilles and ACL injury. And I was like, oh, no. Listen, I'm on part to say I hate Angel Reese. But Juju Watkins is the next thing after Caitlin Clark. I mean, she might be the better all-around player than Caitlin Clark. Because Caitlin Clark's a bit of a sniper and assist. Juju Watkins is great with the layup. She's pretty good at getting steals. She can snipe. And oh, by the way, it was only her second season in college basketball. Now she'll probably miss her junior year and she'll probably play her senior year. Kind of what happened with Paige Buchers. And I think in the hierarchy, it probably goes, because I love Paige Buchers, Caitlin Clark, and then like Juju Watkins is right below her. I think Juju Watkins hasn't been in the sport enough to meet that fanfare of not Cooper Flagg, but Caitlin Clark. But I think talent-wise, she might be better than Caitlin Clark. And then you have Paige Buchers and Angel Reese. Angel Reese is not that good. I will die on that hill. I just don't think she is. But Juju Watkins, Juju Watkins was the upcoming face of women's basketball. I think she was someone that, if she came in the sport, listen, Caitlin Clark was getting hate because she was some skinny white girl that came in and was really good. Right? And the success came immediate to her, and everyone felt threatened. But if Juju Watkins comes in, she's not going to have this hate of her. Partly because Diana Taurasi's retired, but because that door's open. Caitlin Clark walked so Juju Watkins could run. And I believe it. I think Juju Watkins is going to be a phenomenal WNBA star. Juju Watkins makes women's basketball watchable. Her and Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers. And Sabrina Ionescu. We don't need to forget her. But I think it's a huge hit to women's basketball that Juju Watkins went down because no one else is marketable. I mean, last year when Caitlin Clark's doing it, right? Going nuts. And we all know her and Angel Reese are leaving. Juju Watkins is out on the West Coast just going nuts. Dropping 30 points. And you're like, this freshman's going to be special. So what do you mark again this year? Juju Watkins. What does Juju Watkins do? She got better. And she's now hurt. And, man, it hurts so bad to watch her go down. She's a special talent. She's a special talent. And it's just a shame. It's just a daggum shame. I mean, like, just watching the way she is, she'll probably come back the end of next year. Now that it's March Madness, I mean, she may not play the whole year because I don't know if you pull someone back in around this time of year. It's 9 months, but so like SEC tournament. And also it's 9 to 12 months. Used to it was like 12 to 14. Now it's 9 to 12. You're hoping you get that 9, but if she has to hit that 9-month mark, or she's going to miss all of next year, which is a huge detriment to college women's basketball because she was helped bring it along. Like Caitlin Clark passed her the torch, and they had 2 more years of Juju Watkins, and Juju was carrying that torch, but now she's not. And I don't think USC is going to win a title without her. I think it's going to be South Carolina, who blew out Tech, or UConn because of Paige Buchers, and there's another girl on that team that's really good. But also, Russell Wilson signed with, we're going to talk a little bit of football real quick. Stephon Diggs signed with the Patriots. I talked about it last week. Please watch last week's episode. It was a great episode. I said that Stephon Diggs, if him and the Patriots, that is a perfect match. Stephon Diggs needs a place where he can be the undeniable number 1 guy to rebuild. He's like 34, but he can still play. I still have faith in Stephon Diggs. That he can be a serviceable number 2 receiver, but he can go back being number 1 and then fix his Juju. And if they suck this year, they can trade him. I think it's a 3-year deal, though. But they could trade him or whatever. But I love it because it's a reliable source. You know what you're going to get from Stephon Diggs. Like, no matter what the injury is, right? Like, Adam Thielen, I think we can all agree, is a mid number 2, low end number 3 now in his career. He's not a number 1, but he's a number 1 on that Panthers team, and it's a safety blanket. It's valuable for Bryce Young. And this is the whole point why they brought him into Houston. And I think this is going to be huge for Drake May because really he has no one else. I mean, honestly, in a perfect world, if Travis Hunter was there, I'd take him. And I'm about to say a hot take here in a minute about the draft because we're going to talk about the Giants. But I just don't. I think the perfect landing spot for Travis Hunter right now is probably the Patriots. I said the Jaguars. But I think now when you have Travis Hunter can be your number 2 and then him be your 1B corner, I like that. Now, I don't know. Carlton Davis could probably play the slot, kind of like what he was doing before. I could also see, Travis Hunter falling, and I'll hold that. I'll hold that talk because I'm going to release a mock draft this weekend. But I love where it puts the Patriots. I think that's a great move for both sides. Because, right, no one's challenging Stephon Diggs in New England. Right? He's going to be the number 1. He's going to be the guy. And that's what he needs. Drake May now has this veteran stud of a receiver that he can rely on. He doesn't have a Javon Baker, a KJ Osborne, a Jalen Polk. Guys you still need to develop because right now they all look like busts, but we need them to develop. And I personally love that move for the Patriots. Next up, and this was interesting, and I'm going to explain why. The Giants signed Russell Wilson. Right? And it's pretty much that Cam Ward's going 1. Right? Cam Ward's going to be number 1 guy. Next up is Shedeur. Well, earlier this week, comes out, Browns are leaning towards Abdul Carter. Okay. Interesting. So Kenny Pickett's going to be the number 1 starter unless you bring a veteran in. A Ryan Tannehill, who I think should be back in the league. Speaking of being back in the league, bring Hunter Renfrow back. It's an atrocity what's happened to him. But you look at it and you go, okay, you get Abdul Carter, Myles Garrett, that's an elite pass rush. But he's going to throw the ball to your weapons. I think that's huge. So now the Shedeur's not going second, right? Now you look at pick 3, Giants. Well, they bring back Tommy DeVito. They bring in Jameis Winston, right? So before the Russell Wilson signing, you're like, okay, you've got your veteran guy just to hold him over, right? Then you bring in Russell Wilson, and at that point, you look at it and like, this won't make sense. There's no way the Giants go pick a quarterback here. I don't care. I do not care. So And I think Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are going to battle it out for the number 1 quarterback spot. I think people are looking at Shedeur now, and the longer, like the time that is left until the draft is hurting Shedeur because he's steadily falling. He went from being a number 1 overall pick to that gap being huge between him and Cam Ward. To, oh, well, now the gap between him and Jackson Dart's smaller than everyone thought. That now, well, the Browns are going to take Shedeur. And the Giants now have built in a plan to where they don't need to take a quarterback this year. They've got veterans. And then so you go look at the 4th pick, the Patriots. They've got 2 guys there. Don't need Shedeur. 5. You've got Jacksonville. You've got Trevor Lawrence. You don't need Shedeur. 6. You've got the Raiders. They brought Geno Smith in. There was rumors of Geno getting an extension. I don't know if he got that extension at all. But if they extended him, he's not going there. But you see now, I don't think Shedeur goes top 5. I don't think Shedeur goes top 6. And I honestly, hot take, I would not be surprised if Shedeur does not go in the top 15 if Jackson Dart's the 2nd quarterback off the board. You're seeing this. I mean, he is falling. Right? Is the Giants, and the Giants bringing the veterans. You can fall in love with him, but the upside's not there. Shedeur's a game manager. Jackson Dart can be a game changer. And both guys need time. Right? Both guys, the high upside, the arm strength and the arm talent is what Jackson Dart has over Shedeur. But no one has the anticipation and the toughness and the presence like Shedeur. Shedeur moves around the pockets. He anticipates throws. He throws dimes. But he doesn't have the talent. He doesn't have the arm talent. He's not athletic. He's kind of small. Like you're worried about him. It's a game manager version of Caleb Williams. So I wouldn't be surprised if when you got to the Jets, you go, as the Jets, you go, you know what? I could go a Jackson Dart here. Right? Because I don't think the Raiders take him. Would not be surprised if the Raiders took Shedeur, but I don't think you do because you have a short window. Right? Unless you build talent around. So you now look at 7. Jets, they need a quarterback. I think if Shedeur or Jackson Dart are there, they take them. And I think it'd be a reach at Jackson Dart, but I would not be surprised. So then you got a quarterback there. So we'll say Jackson Dart goes 7. Well, now you've got till the 20s till another quarterback needy team is there, unless you have someone trade up. Unless the Browns trade up and they snag Shedeur, right? Because they got 2 seconds. So they can move those 2 seconds, get a first-round pick, and, move up in the draft. Because they got pick 1 and pick 3 in the 2nd round. But again, I think Shedeur can fall out of the top 15 now. I mean, this is worrisome that teams are making moves. Now, the Steelers look prime to get a Shedeur, Jackson Dart, or Tyler Shuck. I mean, they got to make a move for quarterback. Mason Rudolph's not your only guy there. And the longer this Aaron Rodgers thing strings out, the less I think he's going to go there. So, I think Shedeur falls out. And I would not be surprised if the Travis Hunter goes at 5 and then you see Shedeur go back in the top 10 or mid to late 20s. Now, I love what the Giants did. I think it was a smart move. You put 2 quarterbacks together, 2 guys they've got different sets, but they both benefit the team. You let them battle it out in camp, and you go forward from there. I love what the Giants did. Now, to end this all off, again, promised this was going to be a short episode. Opening day was yesterday. I'm going to give a take as a Braves fan. Cut Hector Neris. He threw an absolute shit of an inning. Cut him. I mean, that was terrible. He couldn't land strikes. He threw meatballs in the middle of the zone. Yes, he only allowed 1 run, but everybody was on base when Aaron Bummer was starting to throw. And I'm not an Aaron Bummer fan. He struggled in low leverage situations, but we threw a game we had in hand. And this is the issue with Joe Jimenez going down. 7th inning, you need a starter to go probably 6 innings. Because then Dylan Lee, let's be honest, is that 7th inning guy. But they had to go to him early because this is in the league top half of the lineup for the Padres. And so you go there. Dylan Lee puts a great inning on. Then you go to Hector Neris. And honestly, if I believe Hector Neris and Jose Suarez are battling out and got to hold off Craig Kimbrell and Jesse Chavez. Jesse Chavez going for Jose Suarez's spot. Craig Kimbrell going for that veteran, former elite closer role. And Hector Neris, who can kind of bridge the gap to your current closer. And Hector Neris didn't do good. I mean, that was a terrible inning. And Bummer didn't do good. Personally, to me, Bummer's is the second lefty in the pen. But yeah, that was awful. The Braves lineup, though, looked good. Sale struggled, which is concerning, but hopefully he sticks on. The White Sox blew out the Angels. Mike Trout got hit in the hand again. I mean, you just can't make this up. The Orioles look good. And Adley Rutschman, look, we talked about Tyler O'Neill, who had another home run in his 6th straight opening day. But Tyler O'Neill being the guy that just performs on opening day. At some point, we got to look at Adley Rutschman. He went like 5 for 5 last year, the year before. He hit 2 home runs today. He performs well on opening day. And at one point, we're going to be like, this guy opens out well. I think the issue with Adley Rutschman is he gets tired as the season goes on. And they put a lot on Adley Rutschman. I don't think he DHs enough to protect himself. Now with that top catcher, I think you got to platoon him this year at some point. But still, it was huge. I love what I saw from the Orioles. Austin Wells performed well in the leadoff spot for the Yankees. The Cubs looked good. We had a few walk-offs. LeBron got walked off last night, and I'm going to say this about LeBron, egotistical maniac. With that interview with Pat McAfee. We'll talk about that next week. But opening day looked good. It looked good. The Mets looked strong. The injuries have sapped the Mets again, which is a shame. Tigers look good. Dodgers look interesting. There's holes in the Dodgers, and there's some virus that's going around that is manhandling everybody. I mean, Mookie Betts has lost 20 pounds. Someone else is really sick, and I think someone else is starting to feel sick. And it's like this terrible virus. No one knows what it is. And it's just manhandling people. But overall, I think it was a really good opening day yesterday. I can't remember everything that happened, and I've got work in 2 hours, so I'm kind of just trying to speed it up. But yeah, I think that's all for today's episode. Again, super short episode. There's no one else here. I just wanted to have an episode because there's some things to me that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. Next week, Town should be back. I don't know about Luke. He should be back as well. But thank y'all for watching. Also, check out last week's episode. That was probably our best episode yet. But see y'all.